To the future COF Nation, tap in real quick. My name is Rich.
That's the future. What the fuck?
And this is part 2 of our certification test prep. Again, you can find all of these videos and even more on the official servsafe YouTube page. So I always encourage y'all to do your own due diligence, study by yourself. This is just for the people that want to have somebody here to help study. Pretty sure there's nobody out here doing this for this particular exam. So I'm excited and I'm more than willing. And listen, it's called Chefs of the Future. This is what this is all about. 2025, trying to bring out more value. And this is part 2. And look, I'm realizing that I should be doing the part 3 based off of the conversations from the first part. So let me know if y'all want to see that. All right, so look, this is the first question. And apparently the video is called the best 30 questions to study on the servsafe YouTube page. So let's do this. And again, we're going to go through each question one by one, and we're going to correct answer is and why that is the correct answer. First question, according to the FDA code, who is required to become a certified food protection manager in a food service operation? And the answer for this is going to be answer B. So the second question, when must a certified food protection manager be on site in a food service operation? You got A, only during health inspection, B, during operation hours, C, at the beginning and end of the day, or D, once a week. Now the answer for this is going to be B. It needs to be somebody that's certified in food protection during all operating hours that your operation is going to be in service. Now again, it's to make sure that the proper procedures is being followed and that there's always somebody on site to make sure the right thing is being done. Third question, which acronym represents the 6 conditions that bacteria needs to grow? So you have fast grow, moisture, fat time, and bio needs. And the answer for this is going to be C, fat time. And that stands for fat, acidity, time, temperature, oxygen, and moisture. And you're going to need to memorize that. There's no way around that. And that's a great acronym, and you should have no problem remembering that. And look, like I said, here's one of them notorious ads, because we're on the official YouTube page for servsafe. We're going to occasionally get ads, and I apologize for that in advance if I haven't already. I definitely did a whole lot of apologizing in the first vid. All right, TCS foods are particularly high risk for bacterial growth because they A, are acidic, B, require refrigeration, C, provide food for bacteria to survive, D, do not contain moisture. And the answer for this is going to be C. And that's because it's perfect environment for bacteria to grow in TCS foods. And the next one, and look, we had a great conversation about physical contaminant in our first part. And if you haven't, go check that out. Metal shavings are which type of contaminant? A, biological, B, physical, C, chemical, D, microbial. And we already know the answer for that is B. It's a physical contaminant. Metal shavings, pieces of metal, hair, nails, gloves, all of that. The zip ties, little like metal ties. Next question, what should food service operators do to prevent the spread of hepatitis A? A, cook food at a minimal internal temperature. B, freeze food for 36 hours before serving. C, exclude staff with jaundice from the operation. D, purchase mushrooms from approved reputable sources. And the answer for that is going to be C. And that's because staff with signs of having jaundice is likely harborer for the virus of hepatitis and can spread quite easily when coming in contact with utensils, with food itself, with plates, contact with surfaces that are going to potentially come in contact with food. It's just not good for them to be in the location whatsoever. And I do realize that that aspect of the test, like memorizing the bacterias and the temperatures and all that, can be the most daunting for people that haven't taken it before. And I feel like we should definitely visit that in its own separate video, so let me know how y'all feel. Next question, to wash hands correctly, a food handler must first A, apply soap, B, wet hands and arms, C, scrub hands and arms vigorously, D, use a single-use paper towel to dry hands. Now, this is a question about, do you know the proper procedure to wash your hands? And it's also requiring you to read the question properly. So to wash your hands correctly, a food handler must first. So what's the first step and how to properly wash? And the first step is B, wet hands and arms. Benefit you to memorize the specific steps and how to wash your hands properly. You got the next question coming up. What should food service operators do to prevent customer illness from Shingalai SPP. I'm sure I'm not pronouncing that correctly. A. Freeze food at temperature below 0. B. Exclude food handlers diagnosed with jaundice. C. Purchase shellfish from approved suppliers. Or D. Control flies inside and outside an operation. Now, again, this is going to require you to have some knowledge and memorization. So just think, whenever you see flies, that's Shingalai. Shingalai is the fly. Anytime you see the fly, is the Shingalai. Shingalai is the fly. And the answer is D. And that's like a little trick to memorize, that any fly related question is going to be associated with the virus of Shingalai SPP. So next question, what is the best prevention method for Salmonella typhi in a food service operation? A. Freezing food before serving. B. Cooking food to a minimum internal temperature. C. Only allowing immunized workers to handle food. D. Using organic produce only. Now the answer to this is B. Now this is going to require you to understand how Salmonella typhi spreads, and what the likely source of it is going to come from in the food service operation. And that's usually from meat, from produce, and so it's going to be from an internal temperature. Cooking your food, it's not always associated with poultry, but it's usually associated with poultry. And we're moving on to the next question. What is a common carrier of non-typhi Salmonella? A. Domestic pets. B. Farm animals. C. Wild fish. D. Insects. Now, we just talked about this. The answer is going to be B, because it's farm animals like chicken, like pigs, like rooster, all that stuff are usually carriers of it. Which pathogen is commonly transferred by flies from fences to food? A. I looked. Salmonella. B. Shingalai SPP. C. E. coli. D. Listeria. Look, we already know. We just covered this. Shingalai is for the flies. The flies is for the Shingalais. So it's gonna be B. And that's our trick to memorizing that. Anytime you see a fly question and the Shingalai is an option, or the Shingalai is an option, and you see the flies, and you already know. Just think that. At least that's what I always associated with. You just got it burnt in my brain. Next question. And they love to phrase their questions like this on the test. Which food is not commonly linked to E. coli contamination? A. Raw food, undercooked raw beef. B. Contaminated produce. C. Pasteurized dairy products. D. Poultry and eggs. And it is going to be, drum roll please, how should the temperature of a shipment of cottage cheese be taken when it arrives at the operation? A. Use an air probe to check the temperature of the delivery truck. B. Hold the infrared thermometer to the outside of the case or carton. C. Place a thermometer stem between the shipment boxes for a reading. D. Place a thermometer stem into an open container. And the answer for this is going to be D, because you want to check the temperature of the cottage cheese directly, and not the truck, not the carton, not the boxes, but the actual cheese itself. What's the temperature of that? And that's always going to be the answer. Next question. When should a shipment of fresh chicken be rejected? A. The flesh of a chicken appears moist. B. Shell stock identification tags are not attached to the container. C. The flesh of the chicken is firm and can spring back when touched. D. The receiving temperature is 50 degrees Fahrenheit. Now, you're going to need to know how to identify fresh chicken to answer this question. fresh raw chicken, right? And then you're gonna need to know the danger zone, the time temperature danger zone, which is 41 to 140. So if you're receiving food that's temping at 50 degrees, that's when you reject it. So the answer is going to be D, because that chicken is temping at 50 degrees, and that's a no bueno. And we're moving on to the next question. Next question: where should ground fish be stored in a cooler? A, above shellfish. B, below ground poultry. C, above ready-to-eat food. Or D, below pork roast. Now, to answer this question, you're going to need to know how to store food. And to think about that, you need to essentially know the internal cooking temperatures for food. And it's sort of like a pyramid, right? And when you think about how to store it in the fridge, you want to invert that pyramid, like turn it upside down. So what gets the highest cooking temperature required internally goes on the lowest shelf. Because let's say you have something that doesn't require any cooking, but something that requires cooking drips into it, right? Now it's contaminated, and because it won't get cooked, you can't fix it. Whereas if something drips into, like, let's say you have a fish that drips into chicken, right? The chicken has a higher internal temperature than fish, so the likelihood of the potentially harmful bacteria being killed off are higher than if it was vice versa. So that's why you would never store it that way. So the answer for this is going to be D. And the next question, these questions aren't bad neither. We're halfway through already. What is the maximum number of days the ready-to-eat food can be prepared on site, can be stored and held at 41 degrees Fahrenheit? Now you're going to need to know about the dating on this one, and the answer is C. 7 days is the maximum that you can prepare something on site and keep it in your refrigerators, labeled as something that was prepared a week ago. At 8 days, you should really throw it away. There's not that much money saving in the world. Next question: what is the recommended practice when dealing with shellfish to prevent viral contamination? A, cooking food at low temperatures. B, avoiding bare hand contact with food. C, serving only organic produce. D, using strong chemical sanitizers on food surfaces. And the answer for this is going to be B. Because viral contaminations is usually going to come from the handler, the food handler, and with them coughing like I'm doing throughout this whole video. And that's because I never record these videos with water. That's why I'm always coughing. I always forget my water, my fault. But and that's how the germs is usually spread, through us handling the food viral, because the question was viral contamination. So the next question: parasites are typically associated with what types of food? A, seafood and wild game. B, canned vegetables. C, baked goods. D, pasteurized dairy product. And the answer for this is going to be A, because the question is parasites. Parasites is usually come from the insides of seafoods and wild game, the intestines of seafood and wild game. Canned foods, you're really only going to be worrying about canned foods if they're bloated on the sides. Then it may be botulism, and that's the correct. And see, baked foods, different. Next question. What is a critical measure to prevent parasitic contamination in fish served raw, such as sushi? A. Marinating in acidic solutions. B. Rinsing with potable water. C. Cooking in minimal internal temperatures. D. Freezing before consumption. And the answer for that is going to be D, because that's going to slow down the rate of growth of bacteria in the fish to a point where the fish is going to continue to be safe in the long run. So the next question, by the time it gets eaten, rather, next question. How should food handlers deal with moldy food? A. Cut off moldy parts and use the rest. B. Cook it in high temperatures to kill the mold. C. Throw it away unless mold is a natural part of the food. D. Wash it with vinegar to remove the mold. And the answer is going to be C. When in doubt, always throw it out. Always, always, always. Throw it away. Again, there's not that much money saving in the world. Especially when we're playing this life and death game of serving people food. People could get sick, and in the worst case scenarios could, life be terminated from the food that we cook. Next question. TCS foods reheated for hot holding must reach what temperature? A. 35 degrees Fahrenheit for 15 seconds. B. 345 degrees Fahrenheit for 15 seconds. C. 155 for 15 seconds. D. 165 for 15 seconds. And the answer is going to be D. 165 for 15 seconds. Anytime you're going to reheat any kind of food, it always has to reach an internal temperature of 165 for 15 seconds. No matter what it is. No matter what it is. So if you cook a steak, right, and it's done for service, and the next day come along and you think about reserving the steak left over, all right, but you have to reheat that steak that you're reheating and serving for service at 165. So you obviously can't use the same recipe. You have to prepare it differently, throw it in a soup, do whatever you're going to do with it. But it has to get reheated to 165. So there is no more medium rare. Next question. What method should never be used to thaw food? A. Place the item in the cooler. B. Place the item in the prep counter. C. Place it in the microwave, the item. D. Cook the item. And the answer is going to be B. You should never throw food on the prep counter. Because why? It's in the temperature danger zone, 41 to 140. And if you're in New York City, it's 41 to 145. On the test, if you're taking the New York City food handlers test. That's why. That's always going to trump every day. Next question. Question number 23. Jordan, when partially cooking food to be finished later, what is the maximum cooking time allowed during initial cooking? The answer for this is going to be 60 minutes. And the reason for this is because you don't want to have your food, this is one of these ads, you don't want to have your food at a partially cooked temperature for more than an hour, because bacteria is going to continue to grow and it's going to be potentially creating a potentially harmful situation. So next question. Food held at 41 degrees or lower before being removed from the refrigeration can be held without temperature control for up to how many hours? And the answer is going to be 6. And think about if you was gonna make some potato salad and take it to a barbecue, you can make that. That's totally fine. You have the sticker on the side of the pan. All your food could sit out there, right? You don't need it to be at temp, but at the 6-hour mark, everything on there has to be thrown away. If your event is not 6 hours long, then still everything has to get thrown away at the end of that event. 6 hours is done. Next question. What type of kitchen equipment materials may not be safe with acidic foods? A, stainless steel and silicone. B, pewter, copper, zinc, and painted pottery. C, glass and ceramic. That's how you pronounce it. Ceramic. D, plastic or melamine. And the answer is going to be B, pewter, copper, zinc, and painted pottery. Now it's going to react with the acids in the food weirdly. Some may chip, some may turn all kind of funky, and then react with the heat differently after that experience. Next question. What are potential injuries from physical contaminants in food? A, food poisoning. B, burns. C, allergic reactions. D, cutting and choking. And the answer is going to be D, cutting and choking. Because think about it. You swallow a nail, you bite into that, it may cut your throat going down, you may choke on it. That's usually what's associated. Now, next question. What does the A in the FDA's alert program stand for? Now, this is going to require you to know what the FDA's alert program even is. So the first one is A, analysis. B, assure. C, allocate. D, assess. And the answer is going to be B, assure. So it's assure, look, employees, report, and what's the T? Yeah, check it out. Assure, look, employees, report, threat. Yep. In the alert program, what does look advise food service operators to do? A, monitor the security of the facility. B, inspect the quality of the food. C, look for inspired products. D, look for customer complaints. And the answer is going to be A, monitor the security of the event. Of the facility, rather. And I think we only have 2 more questions left. And the second to last question is, what is the first action a food service operation should take when responding to a FBI complaint? A, notify the police. B, gather information from the incident. C, segregate the suspected food product. Or D, discard all food products. And the answer is going to be B. Because think about it. You need to know the day, the time of the incident, right? So you could segregate that food. But to do that, you first need information. So the first action is always going to be gather information. And the last question is, which group of foods is identified by the FDA of causing 90% of all allergic reactions? A, the big 8. B, artificial additives. C, preservatives. D, coloring. And of course, it's going to be the big 8. And for those of you who need to know it, here we are on the FDA.gov website. So we have milk, eggs, fish, shellfish, tree nuts, peanuts, wheat, soybeans, and sesame. Sesame is the new one. They just snuck that one in. So it's not going to quite be on the test quite yet. But yeah, soybean. You got to enter that soybean. Sesame is not. It's not at the party yet, but it should be at the party. But look, I definitely enjoyed doing this with y'all, right? Let me know if y'all want a part 3. And until then, I'm out. And look, we about to start recording episodes for the podcast pretty soon. I just want to do this little prelude. Again, bring out more value this year. And I got some more stuff like this in the pipeline. And until then, I'm out.